Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to another unboxing for Disney Villainous. Now, this looks probably kind of familiar because it has Ursula on the cover. This is to celebrate Disney 100. They introduced the Introduction to Evil, which is a re-release of the base game. So in this video, I'm going to kind of just go through what this game is. If you've never seen this before, you're picking up, want to know what's on the shelf. This is a video to check out. I will do a second video, which I will link in the description where I compare this to the original because there are some very significant differences between the two versions to the point where people might want to pick them up. I'm not going to go through all the little nuanced ones in here, but just to point off right off the bat, the couple of big differences are one, there's only 4 villains in here versus the original base set having 6. Also had Jafar and the Queen of Hearts, so they kind of eliminated them to make this a little bit easier of a game. Those characters had a little bit more going on. Um, not saying they were bad or anything. But yeah, so they released it with just these 4. They get update the same standards. They just kind of made them metallic. And then they did do some slight tweaking to how some of these characters play as well as the rules because they got rid of some of the mechanics and made the game made them a little bit trickier. So again, I'm not going to go through and dive too much into them during this video. Just going to kind of show off. You can check out the comparison video if you want to see all the differences. So let's hop in and see what's in here. So this is definitely an interesting idea. If you're not sure what Disney Villainous is, what the game is you play as one of the villains trying to complete their story. So you're gonna move your character along the board throughout the different world of the thing, but each player is doing um their own little mission. So if you're playing Maleficent, she's doing her thing, Captain Hook's doing her thing, and the players don't interact generally on a turn by turn basis. There are special things you can do, special actions you can take if you choose to interact with the other players. But for the most part, you're kind of playing your own board, trying to do your own thing. Now you will need to interact with the other players to try and essentially sabotage them from completing their goals. But that's not the main focus. It's sort of like a versus game, but not like straight up every turn I'm playing something against my opponent. You probably spend 3/4 of the game working on your own stuff, and the other quarter trying to actually stop your opponents. And if you're playing 4 players, you're all playing against each other. Um, so you might even team up and kind of like, oh, that guy's getting close to achieving their goal. We'll kind of do something this turn to take him out, and then next turn, oh, that guy's going. So now everyone kind of gangs up on him because you're villains. You're gonna sabotage each other. But what then it does is the goal is you're also playing cards from your hand, and you're following um, the plot that the character actually does in the movie, basically up to the point where they would have started to have been foiled. It's actually a really neat idea. So it's not saying what if they won their movie. It's basically saying do what they've done up until this point. Um, yes, it's kind of interesting. So all right, let's take a look at what's in the box to begin with. All right, it's gonna show here on the back outside all the core main sets. Each one adds 3 more characters. You can pick any of them up, and you can mix and match them easily with this. So if you pick up the one with Scar or Cruella or Gaston syndrome, you can either play them by themselves, or you can actually mix those characters into this set, and vice versa. So that's definitely a really neat idea because then every set's kind of its own standalone. Um, all right, so of course we have the rule book here. And this is going to go over the basics of how to play, and we'll look at that in just a second. We are going to get some different components here. We're going to have a big cauldron. This is to hold all your different counters they're called power tokens that all the characters are going to share. This is an easy way to grab it versus just having a pile laying on the table. It's just a little piece of plastic, nothing super special. But again, it's nicer than just, hey, here's a bag of tokens, dump them all on the table. And it adds a little aesthetic to the game. We get our various movers, which we'll look at in detail in a little bit here. Oh, it doesn't want to pop out of there. We have little booklets for each character. So Captain Hook, From Peter Pan, of course, Prince John from Robin Hood, Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty, and Ursula from The Little Mermaid. And these little guidebooks kind of give you an idea of how to play the character. So it's kind of nice because you're jumping in, you've never played, or you've played the game before, but you haven't played as a specific character. This just gives you a brief idea of like, oh, okay, this is what this character does. These cards are kind of used for this. This is used for that. So you're not playing 100% blind on how the character's deck works. And then we get um, 4 reference cards to explain what your actions are in each turn you can do, as well as on the back, just a very brief description of how each player's winning. So this way, like if I'm player one, I think, oh, this is what I do. Wait, what do I have to do? What does if Prince John's character have to do to win? Okay, I can see he's getting close to 20 power. I know I have to try and stop him. So we'll look at all these when we go over each character's deck. Um, each character has their own board, which will again remind you of your objective, as well as it's going to be your play field, which is going to show all your different actions and different places you play your cards. Then each character also gets its own 2 decks of cards, each with their unique backing on there, different color to match kind of their mover, their own pictures. So we'll have all 4 decks in here. And then notice I said 2 decks because each player also has the white deck, which will have the same picture on the back um, as their main deck, same name and everything. But the white deck is called the Fate deck. This is essentially the regular deck is all the different cards your character is going to use to try and win. Prince John here will imprison people, use wolf archers, intimidation tactics, setting traps. Um, but then he has to go with the white cards, which are where your opponents play stuff again. It's called the Fate deck. And this is where they play heroes like Skippy, Clever Disguise, King Richard, and of course, somewhere in here is Robin Hood. There's Robin Hood. Um, these are cards your opponents will play. They'll basically summon these to your side of the table. So they'll play these on your side. Like as Prince John, I'll play my cards to my side of the table. Um, but my opponents will play cards from my Fate deck to my side. So all the Prince John cards always stand on the Prince John side of the table. All the Ursula always stand on the Ursula side. So it does make cleanup really nice as well. Um, then we have a bag of power tokens. So I'll just double-sided little power tokens. Just dump these in the bowl. Pretty simple. And then we have the 4 movers. So these represent your characters. We've got Prince John here. And they're nice, shiny metallic. Although you can see some of the paint on there is a little wonky. Um, but yeah, so these are what you use to move your character around your game world. There's Maleficent. I love how each one is like a very simplistic design, but it still represents the character. So Prince John was like a diamond with a crown on it. Makes sense. It's after power. Maleficent's kind of like the robe with the green, or the horns, and then she's green. We'll have, if I can get them out of the box. All right, we'll look at Ursula next, so I can get her out. We have Ursula here. Her big tuft of hair, as well as her tentacles. Now, again, this is the only downside of this metallic. You can kind of see some like lines on there. I mean, it's not bad, but it's a little distracting. It seems kind of cheap, especially compared to the originals. Um, and then there's Captain Hook, big cloak with a hook, his big puffed hat. So, like, a comparison to the original quick. So the original ones, and again, I'm not going to do a lot of comparisons here, but the original ones were all translucent, which I thought looked really cool versus some of the metallic ones. Because they're still the exact same model and stuff. I just think the translucent, I still see there's little like dings and stuff on those as well. So it didn't like necessarily fix any of that, but it's just not as noticeable. All right. So how do we actually play the game? Game overview. Each villain has a different objective with different cards, special abilities, and challenges. On your turn, you will move your villain marker to a location in your realm and perform any or all actions that are available there. Through these actions, you will play cards from your villain deck. As you work to achieve your objective on your opponent's turn, your opponents may play cards from your fake deck to hinder your progress. So every character has a unique objective, which makes the game really interesting. Um, this guide is actually very well for setting up how you do it. So each sorry, each player is basically going to set their game up like this: your deck of cards, your fate deck, your board with your mover that starts there. You get a starting hand of 4 cards. You have your guides, and then you have your 2 power tokens, and everything else is generally whoever chooses first. Um, Fairly simple. Setup is not bad at all. Just shuffle your deck up, draw your cards. Um, and then on your realm, on your turn, you actually have several actions to do. One, you have to move your character. They have to move from one spot to another. And then you perform any actions on there. End of your turn, you draw. If you have fewer than 4 cards in your hand, you draw back up to 4. So this is a very important step that I think a lot of people aren't familiar with or don't get used to. Most games you're used to drawing at the beginning of your turn, so you draw at the end. This is done for 2 reasons. One, because as you're done playing cards or discarding cards throughout your turn, then you draw back up at the end of your turn. Plus, if you have your cards in your hand at your turn, it gives you the chance, if you're playing like a multiplayer game, you're playing 4 players, that you can kind of look over your cards and have an idea of what you're going to do on your turn versus drawing at the beginning of the turn and then spending 10 minutes staring at your cards trying to figure out what to do. Now, with that said, although I agree that's a good way to do the game, I also think that you somewhat need to be paying attention to what you're playing. If you spend your entire, if you're playing a 4-player game, you spend all 3 players' turns just looking at your cards and not at all paying attention to what they're doing. Um, One, it takes any interaction of the game out, and 2, then you're eventually going to be surprised, all of a sudden, like, oh my gosh, are they winning? Because you have no idea what they're doing and what it's done. So I think you need to kind of balance that, like looking at your hand as well as paying attention to what your opponents are doing. Yeah, so these are all the basic common actions that everybody does. So, example here, if I grab Ursula and we open up her board, she's got Ursula's lair, Eric's ship, the shore, and the palace. Each one of these things has 4 icons. So, during my turn as Ursula, I can grab her back out of here. We'll just set that. Let's see if I can like zoom my camera down a little bit. That was not the way to zoom it down. All right. So like during Ursula's turn, beginning of the turn, she starts here. So my first turn, if I go to Ursula's lair, I can perform any of these 4 actions. I do not have to perform all 4. I may not be able to perform all 4, depending on what they are. Um, then on my next turn, I have to move to one of the other 3 locations. And this is so that way your deck has to be accessing different stuff, as well as the big core thing are these numbered ones, which give you power tokens, which let you pay for your cards. They don't want someone just sitting on 3, sitting on 3, sitting on 3, and just amassing powers, especially like a character like Prince John, whose point is to gain the power tokens. So they make you have to make that decision each turn. Now, you can bounce back and forth between 2 every other turn if you want. That's definitely an option. But that's what you do. Then you pick and choose. And we'll go over what all those little symbols mean here in just a second. So, they actually have them all listed right here. We have gain power. So that is any of these ones with a number in. You gain one of those power tokens equal to the number in there. So you gain 1, 1, there's a 3, and a 2. Um, you can play a card. So if it just has a picture of a card, you play one card in your hand. So if she's in the lair, she gets to play 1 card. If she's in Eric's ship, she gets to play a card there. But if she comes to the shore, she gets to play 2 cards. It's very beneficial if she has cards to play. But again, you have to be able to pay for them. If you don't have the cost, although you're getting 3 here, it might not be worth it if you don't have the cards to play. They have the fate. This lets you take one of them white cards from another player's deck. After you draw two of them, you get to choose which one to use, and then you play it against them. And this helps hinder them. And we'll go over how that works a little bit more later. Finally, we have, or not finally, but next we have move an ally or item card. So you can see there's two different spots on the board. There's a top little line here, and there's a bottom one. So the bottom one is where you play your cards. If you have a card that says item or ally, sometimes you need to move them to different areas. This can be done because they have an effect that works in a certain area, or if they need to fight a hero. So let me grab Ursula's deck here, which is on the other side. So, for example, is if on the shoreline here, let me move some of this stuff out of the way. If Prince Eric is here and I want to defeat him, he's got a cost of 4 down there, and we'll go. I started to go over this a little bit later. I have to play villains that can stop him. So do I even have any in here? I might not have any for this specific deck. This is a bad deck to choose for that. I'm just gonna. You can't mix matching cards for other things. But for example, like this is a Maleficent's deck. She has an ally with 3, so I put this ally down here. But if I placed him down here first, I might have to use a move action to move him over to this spot so he can fight whoever's on top of him. So that's kind of how that works. Yeah, I forgot. Her deck doesn't have attack action, which is very interesting. All right, so then you can also move a hero, and that shows the same card, both a lightning bolt, because again, you might need to get a hero from one area to the other. So this could be if I need to get, so like Ursula's actual objective here is have the trident and crown in Ursula's, at Ursula's lair. So if the crown or trident get played somewhere else, I have to spend time moving them to the other areas. So I got move action here, or a hero move action depending on where the crown and trident are. Sorry, there are vanquish actions, which let you defeat a hero at your realm using one or more allies with the same number of strength. So there we saw like Eric had 4, those dudes had 3. I would have to have at least 4 to beat Eric. Now you can use many different allies to help beat a hero, but once you do, they're all discarded. So if Eric has 4 and I play 2 goons that each have 3 and I have 6, I beat him, but I lose both of my goons. So sometimes you might have to like decide if it's worth losing a higher level character just to get rid of a hero, or if you want to try and wait and you can find a smaller ally and have more of an equal cost. And then we have discarding cards. Discard any number of cards from your hand. Now, this is, again, a very important one. Because if you have cards in your hand you're not using because they have a specific condition, or you already have some on the table and you don't think you need extra, or you're looking for a specific card, you really want to discard. So that way you can draw new cards. I've seen people play the game and they will just sit down in a turn and be like, oh, there's nothing I can do. I don't have anything to do. Then go to the discard spot, discard 2 or 3 cards from your hand. They're waiting to use a specific card at a specific moment, or for later in the game. But it's like, but if you're not generating new cards every turn, so if you don't get rid of some, you're just going to be sitting there in a stalemate, not doing anything, waiting for one moment. Like, hey, I have this really good ally to play, but I don't have anyone to play it against. Just either play it or get rid of it. So that's a very important thing to do. Types of cards, we have allies, which have a cost, name. I think we'll go over these a little bit more. We have item cards, which can be in both your deck and the Fate deck. Now, what's really cool about these is, so like we see this listed in red and blue, and they're listed in red and blue on the card. This is a very quick indication. So you can tell when a card affects something else. Like these cards even mention heroes, which are in orange. So we have hero cards that are in orange, or like Sebastian there has items, which is blue. Having color coded makes them really easy to match stuff together. We also have effect cards in green, which are basically one-time use cards. You play it, it does something, it goes away. And then all the villains have special condition cards. Now these cards don't have a cost, but they can only be used under special conditions, but they're very powerful. So this is one of them cards I just said you might be hanging on to for that special condition, but this also goes into paying attention to who you're playing against and what that player does. If you have a card that says when another player defeats a hero, you can play this card. If you're playing against, let's say, like Prince John, who doesn't really care about defeating characters as much, or he might not be, or Ursula, who doesn't really have to worry about it too often, um, maybe it might it might not be worth hanging on to that card. Or if they have something that says like if a player plays 3 cards in one turn, and you're noticing other players aren't playing 3 cards, it's not worth keeping that card in your hand. That's the basics of this. There's just this on the back here. They go through some of the other um, just specified stuff on here. Um, so that's essentially how the game is played. Each player is going to go through their deck trying to complete their goal by moving their character around, performing their actions, and then the next player goes. Some more specifics of it are, and what makes the game very interesting is, so we mentioned all the different card types, all the different actions. So we had like uh, gaining power, drawing cards, moving your opponent's cards, discarding, faking. And you'll notice Ursula does not have a vanquish action because the way her deck works, she doesn't actually get one. Because in her show, she's not directly ever attacking anybody. She doesn't generally have anyone typically attacking her. The only quote unquote battle of the movie was her versus Triton towards the end. So that's what's really neat with everyone's deck. They play a little bit differently. So if we look at Captain Hooks here, he's got right after that he's got Vanquish on here, um, but he's got some different stuff in different orders. So like now here again, he has draw 2 or play 2 cards and 3, but he has the ability to move. Where Ursula's was discard, so they do play differently. And every character has a different board that has different symbols on them, and they're all going to do various different things, which is very interesting. So now you can see, like on Maleficent's board, she doesn't have any way of moving uh, villain or fate cards. She can move her cards around a lot. She has 2 different options there. She has some vanquish options, but she doesn't have a way to move the heroes around because she's above them. She doesn't care what they're doing. She doesn't care what Prince Philip is doing or Aurora is doing. She's dealing with her own stuff. Um, and the same thing here. We have Prince John's board, and we'll look at these a little bit more when we go over each character. Now, his has a unique third one. He has the jail, which has nothing up here in the top, and it's 3 on the bottom. And why this is a very interesting distinction is because, so what happens is when you play fate cards, um, so if someone plays Toby for the Prince John set, um, which has its own effect, it says what happens. Um, they put it on the board and it goes into like where there's little like areas and it covers up those slots. So that is one of the ways that a another opponent can slow you down. So example, if someone's like, oh, he's using this +2 power too much, they can put Toby on there. Now, if my Prince John character moves to Friar's Touch Church, I only have 2 actions. Um, so as your opponent, by playing these fake cards, it's one way besides the effect the card does. That's the other way to very much hinder each character or each player because you're limiting what actions they can do. Plus, then you're also making them have to spend extra time to vanquish them. Um, so for Prince John to get rid of Friar Tuck, or get rid of Toby, I'm sorry, he would have to go through his deck. I didn't find any cards. You have to find something like Wolf Archers. He would have to put them on. Now, because he does have a movement ability, he could put them somewhere else and move them around and then stack them up. But then he didn't have to subsequent turn go to this spot and play a Vanquish action. So it takes a little bit of setup. So it's not like you can do it. And then you get some characters like Maleficent who don't have don't have on their board a way to move people around, or Ursula, who don't have a direct way to vanquish. So they have special cards that are going to give them those abilities to do that stuff. Um, so that's the basics of the game. So part two here, which we're gonna start up in just a sec. Same video, just we're gonna go to part two. Is we're actually gonna go through each character's deck and kind of how they play. All right, so we'll set that up in just a sec. All right, so one other thing that's really neat about this as being an introduction set is what they did was all of the deck is already pre-shuffled. So after you buy this, you can just pull out each deck and just play it right off the bat the first game. Um, and I don't know if that makes the first couple of cards necessarily like stacked or if they're just randomly shuffled. Um, but that's kind of a neat idea. Is that you can just go ahead and play that without having to search through. Or you don't have to shuffle up right away. You can just pop the game out. Here's the instruction. You sit down and play it the first day of the game night. You don't have to spend all this extra time shuffling all these decks. All right, so we're gonna look at Prince John to begin with. Prince John is his objective is to have at least 20 power and Robin Hood at the jail. Um, yeah, so this is basically going to explain little guidebooks and explain how it does. Just find Robin Hood and defeat him. Um, Robin Hood may turn up faster when an opponent baits you, but if he doesn't, you can play set trap and cowardice to fight him, or defeat Maid Marian. When you defeat Robin, he's automatically thrown in the jail. So yeah, this is kind of a neat thing because it's like you need to get a character out to deal with them, specifically Robin Hood. So if your opponent baits you a bunch, they might pull Robin Hood out quicker for you. Otherwise, you have to spend time trying to find cards to coerce him out. Um, it has game power. There's several cards that let him gain extra power, which is the whole goal of his deck, and to be ready to vanquish heroes. Um, in your fate deck, steal from the rich and will take power from you and give it to the heroes, but you can gain it back when you defeat them. Yeah, so you can see how they kind of work against him. So we'll go ahead and look at his cards in his deck. Let's look at the back of the card first, because I love the artwork on here. So like the borders, the arrows. He's got like his little like crown throne. He's got a bag of money on his cards, a treasure chest, the axes the guard carries, some jewelry, some coins, his crown, like all iconic things to the character, which is a really neat idea. All right, since I did not shuffle these up, these are how they are from the top of the deck. What's going to happen is we are going to get duplicate cards, but they're not going to be next to each other. So yeah, we'll kind of just go through that and see how that works out. So we have Imprison, which costs 2. It says move any hero except Robin or Little John to the jail. And what's nice about the way Prince John's deck works is that jail um, had no symbols on the top. So moving all the characters to the jail, the heroes, they can just leave them there. You don't even have to deal with them anymore. You don't have to worry about trying to amass enemies to fight them because they're not hurting you at all unless they have an active effect. All right. We have some allies who are red, who has wolf archers, who has 2 attack or power. When performing a vanquish action, wolf archers may be used to defeat heroes at their location or adjacent locations. So it's really nice about these guys. You don't have to get them on the same spot. So you can have them kind of spread across the board to deal with anything that shows up, because then 2 of them could gang up from a different section. We have bows and arrows. So this is when bow and arrow is played, attack an ally gains 1 strength. When the ally will be discarded, discard this item instead. So that's cool. Now the wolf archers, you can make them 3, and if something would, so when you vanquish and you would get rid of them, you destroy them, you just get rid of the arrows instead. So you can keep them around even longer. This is one of the condition cards. So it has no cost up here, but it's called Greed. During your turn, if another player has 6 or more power, you may play Greed to gain 3 power. So as soon as someone else amasses a bunch of money, you automatically get some. Now, what makes this a very dangerous card for your opponents to worry about is because they can always look on the board and be like, oh, he's got 6 away from winning, 6 away from that 20. So he's gonna have to land on that space twice and take him with another 2 turns. Also, you could play this and be play this on play this, and then then during the next time, hey, move over and win the next game. So you gotta watch out for that stuff. Um, Very interesting. We have some we have some Rhino guards here. Don't have any special abilities, but they are four, so they're going to be able to defeat most characters. We have the Warrant. It's gain 2 power each time a hero is played to this location. So this helps you set up gaining extra power as Prince John. You play this card down, and every time a opponent plays uh, they play a hero there, you're gonna gain it. So you can kind of set up, hey, if they're gonna try and stop me at this location, I can always at least gain some extra power for it. Beautiful, lovely taxes. Cost 0, which is nice. Gain 1 power for each hero in your realm. So again, this kind of benefits you getting characters out, because if you throw them all in jail, they're not hurting you, and then you can gain extra money. Alright, so we're going to have a second copy of Imprison, and get multiple copies of Loxes. Then we do have, sometimes you get specific allies, so like we had your Rhino Guards and the Archers, which are kind of like minions. We have Trigger, the Buzzard. Um, Other allies at Trigger's location get -1 strength. Um, so yeah, he's powerful, but he's gonna weaken all your other characters. So he's kind of, what the justification is, he only costs 2 versus the Rhino Guards costing 4. So it's a little offset in there. We have Set a Trap. You may move an ally to any location. Reveal the top 4 cards of your fake deck. You may play a hero, discard the rest. So this can specifically help you get like Robin Hood out, or um, you could definitely use it to pull a different character if you have an ally set up to defeat them right away. Like you pull like Toby or Maid Mary or Friar Tuck or Little John, even if you don't want, even if Robin's out or he's not out, just to get rid of them. Once they go to that discard pile, you're not gonna have to deal with them again until that fate deck would run out. We have King Richard's Crown. If Prince John is at this location, all costs are reduced by 1. So this is kind of a neat idea too. You put this on the board, and then when you move to that spot, all of your costs are cheaper. So you're not spending as much power to play cards, and you can play stuff even cheaper. Intimidation. Perform a vanquish action, but do not discard allies used to defeat the heroes. Again, keeping all them extra minions. The second condition card we have is Cowardice. So you kind of see this. I love these original conditions. Some of the later sets of this game, they kind of, which makes sense as the game went on. You started around, but they're basic instincts or traits. So you see Prince John's all about greed, but he also is a coward. So during the turn, if another player defeats a hero, you may play Cowardice. For the top 4 cards of your fake deck, you may play a hero, discard the rest. So again, this is definitely a powerful card for your deck. Helps you get some of them out. But if you already have like Robin Hood out and you're not worried about trying to get someone else out, again, might not make sense to keep this in your hand. Or if you notice the other players aren't really defeating anybody quick, or they're not in a point where they could, um, then might not, like, they don't have any other allies out. It might not make sense to keep this in your hand. All right, so we have some more wolf archers. They're imprisoned. So we're gonna get a lot of duplicates at this point. Um, and that also makes the game very interesting between characters, is because some characters can have a bunch of allies, a bunch of items, a bunch of effects. There are some of the villains that don't. They have like 5 specific allies, but no like kind of minions where there's like 3 or 4 of the same ones. Some only have them, don't have any specific. Some have 1 item, some have 5 items. Like every deck is built different. It's the same amount of cards, but it's not you have 5 allies, 5 items, 5 effect cards. It's everyone's built as a different thing, so they all play very differently. We have the Golden Arrow, and the Golden Arrow is a play a tactic to an ally. When that ally is used to defeat the hero, gain 2 power. Of course, we get the Sheriff of Nottingham. Before Prince John moves, you may move Sheriff of Nottingham to any location and gain 1 power. If there are any heroes in his new location, so if you move specifically to a spot, you gain some extra power. We get some more warrants. I'm going to have to pull these down for a sec. So we get a second greed. I think you get generally get two of each of the conditions. Of course, we have Sir Hiss. If Prince John is at Sir Hiss's location, you may perform one hero action that is covered by a hero at that location. Now, this is really powerful because if your opponent played that, um, when you move Sir Hiss to a spot where there's allies or a hero stuck there, and you can actually use those abilities. There's another cowardice, taxes, warrant, and finally we have Nutsy. Um, all their allies at Nutsy location gain +1 strength, so the opposite of the other buzzard. Um, yes, that's definitely cool. Um, Now, one thing we'll point out on here, we'll look at his board quick again. So in Sherwood Forest, we have some powers, discarding, playing cards, and vanquishing. In the Friar Cock, we have two abilities to play cards, gain 2 power, or move your allies. In Nottingham, we can vanquish, fate, play a card, and gain 1 power. And in the jail, we have 3 draw a card, or play a card and discard a card. Now, you notice he has only 1 vanquish. He have to, he's not going to be able to vanquish every turn. Just typically how that goes. But he also doesn't have any way of moving um, heroes around directly. So, like, get uh, get someone to the jail, you're going to have to play a card that lets you move them, or you're going to have to defeat them somehow. But he doesn't have a way to directly influence the movement. Alright, so let's look at our fate cards. These are the heroes trying to stop us. Of course, we're going to get King Richard. Um, Prince John cannot play effect cards. Now, this costs 5. Now, you can see why this is going to really slow you down. Besides covering up your actions, it as well is hard to defeat at 5. Your 2 most powerful characters are what not nuts. The other buzzard's name I can't remember right now. Um, and the Rhino Guards, which cost 4. So you need at least 2 guys. Luckily, them archers could be in separate other locations. But also stops you from playing effect cards. That can shut you down quite a lot. We have Clever Disguise. Whenever Clever Disguise is played, attach it to a hero. That hero cannot be defeated. Um, Anytime Prince John may pay 2 power to discard it. So, not much to pay 2 power, except for the problem is your goal is to gain money, so you have to spend money to do stuff. That's going to really hurt you. Friar Tuck, when Friar Tuck is played, discard all warrants from his location. Prince John does not gain any power from them. Um, yep, so again, stopping your deck. Steal from the Rich. Take 4 power from Prince John and put it on any one hero. You cannot place power on the hero's active jail. When that hero is defeated, the power is returned to Prince John. So again, you're taking your money so that way you have to struggle harder to get it back. Then we have Robin Hood. When Robin Hood is revealed or found, you must play him immediately to Sherwood Forest. Now, this breaks the typical Fate rule. Normally, you draw 2 cards and you get to pick which one to play on your opponent. Because an effect card or a hero might be better or worse than something else. But this, you automatically have to play Robin Hood. So any other fake card can ability this action or discarded. When Robin Hood is defeated, move him to the jail. So again, you have to try and defeat him to get him to the jail. We have Alan Adale. All other heroes at Prince John's realm gain +1 strength. Now the realm is the entire board as opposed to location being one spot. So there's a guy you might want to get rid of too. We have Maid Marian. When Maid Marian is defeated, find Robin Hood and play him. So another easier way to get him out. Clever Disguise, Little John. The amount of power that Prince John gains from each action or card is reduced by 1. So again, it's like, look at these guys, lots of them are 4s, 5s, 6s. They're really hard to take out. And it kind of goes again with the theming of the movie. Prince John's constantly dealing with Robin Hood, but it's not like he's knocking them out or taking them out of play. He's kind of just sort of having to work around them. We have Lady Cluck. Cluck cannot be played or moved to the jail, and she costs 6, so basically you just gotta kind of deal with her. Another Steal from the Rich. We have Toby. And Toby is defeated, shuffle him back into Prince John's big deck. So, not powerful, not a big thing, but he's going to keep coming back. And then finally, we have Skippy. Wolf Archers cannot be used to defeat Skippy. So, again, just makes it harder to get rid of some of the characters. So again, someone playing against Prince John, the whole idea is they're going to try and fate you, put these cards out to hinder your top row, making it a lot harder for you to play cards like the effects or losing power, um, and just in general being a nuance or a nuisance. And then you have to spend extra time, spending extra money to hire archers or hire a sheriff from Nottingham and stuff, and then find Vanquish to take care of them. So basically, they're trying to stop you from playing. uh, you play a lot of heroes and stuff to kind of shut you down, and then you have to waste your power and money to get rid of them. So that was good old Prince John. All right, let's hop into our next character, which we'll look at Maleficent. Dun, dun, dun. Here's good old Lady Maleficent. Gotta grab her board here. So her goal is to have a curse at each location. So we kind of look to her guide again. It's just going to kind of explain how to do this stuff. Um, and it gives a little bit of backstory. But yeah. So be ready for other heroes. Here's your fake deck will slow you down. Play allies to the bottom of your own. Play curses to defeat heroes and vanquish them. Um, she has special types of cards called curses that are unique to her deck. Um, just says, however, when a fate is in your deck, other actions will cause curse to be discarded. You may play a curse to any location as long as there's an ally at the location. You not play curses to Raven's location. Multiple curses may be played at the same location, and only played. Uh, and once played, you may move curses using the move item or ally action. Um, so yeah, you have to get a curse to each location. Very interesting. So let's go ahead and take a look at her deck. Let's look at the back, of course. We have, of course, big dragon form. She has her crown with like her staff she's kind of carrying around. Some thorns, of course, the thorns that pierce Sleeping Beauty. Um, the green flames, and then her little raven. So yeah, get all very iconic stuff for her. All right, what is she having here? She has some sinister goons. Sinister goons get +1 strength if there are any curses at his location. So he gains more powerful if you have curses out, which is of course what you're trying to do. Her condition, she has tyranny. Play during their turn. If another player has 3 or more allies in their realm, you may play tyranny. Draw 3 cards in your hand and then discard any 3 cards. So the whole idea of this is because you're trying to find them curses. So this lets you, discard whatever curses, or if you have cards you don't need, and try and find ones you need. But you have to wait till your opponent has 3 allies. So again, if your opponents aren't really playing a lot of allies, depending on who you're playing against, this might not, you might not hang on to that card. She has Vanish. On your next turn, Maleficent does not have to move to a new location. Again, this is a really neat, breaking of the basic rules. Kind of like Prince John had the ability to not have he didn't have anything in the top of his jail. She has the ability to stay in the same locations and use the same effect over and over. Well, at least every time you play this card. We have some Savage Goons who have 4 strength. Then we have special curse cards, which are purple at the bottom. So for Forest of Thorns. Forest of Thorns can only be played to a location with an ally. Heroes must have a strength of 4 or more to be played to this location. Discard this curse when heroes play this location. So basically, this is how curses are going to work. You have to have an ally out. So that's going to take one of your turns to play a card there. And then heroes, the opponents can get rid of areas. They just need to play a hero. But they have to have at least a strength of 4 or more to be played. This is going to take, but once they play, it's automatically discarded. Now you have to play a new curse. So it's going to more dictate your opponent's playing heroes are probably going to be more dictated where the curses are, as opposed to just trying to cover up spots. We have Dragon Form. Defeat a hero with a strength of 3 or less. If a fate action targets you before your next turn, gain 3 power. So if someone notices you're starting to win, this is kind of maybe a way to help save yourself. Um, Now, I would play this as the way most card games are. You go as much as you can go on the card. So it says defeat a hero, strength of 3 or less, and then the second half says if a fate action targets you before your next turn, gain 3 power. So I personally feel like you have to defeat a hero before you get the if a fate action targets you. You can't just play this and then if something targets you, gain the action. Um, but yeah, they might have a specific rule in there for that. Her other condition is malice. During their turns, if another hero player defeats a hero with a strength of 3 or more, you may play Malice, defeat a hero with a strength of 3 or less. So basically, someone else defeats when you defeat one. Dreamless Sleep, our second curse. Dreamless Sleep can only be played at location of an ally. Heroes at this location get -2 strength. Discard this curse when an ally is played at this location. So this one kind of makes it a little bit, it switches up. So it's basically like if your opponents keep playing heroes here, you're going to reduce their strength. But if you want to still defeat that hero for some reason, you have a really good constant effect. Um, you're gonna have to possibly play another ally here, which then is going to remove this curse. So that's a good way for them to stop that. The Cackling Goon. Just +1 strength for each hero at his rotation. We have another Forest of Thorns. We have Green Fire. Can only be played at a location with an ally. Heroes cannot be played to this location. Discard this curse as Maleficent moves to this location. So this is definitely a double-edged sword. It's gonna let you keep all your um, heroes can't be played to that spot, so you keep that curse out there, but you can't move there. Now, the thing is, you can combine curses. So you could play this on one of the other spots that has, like the first one, that the Forest of Thorns. Hero gets played there, that gets discarded. So you could play these two together. Now, an opponent can't play a hero there, so they can't get rid of that. Um, so they can't. It stops them from doing anything like that. But it also then prevents you from going there as well. So it's kind of an interesting double-edged sword, which kind of makes sense for lots of power, but with some drawbacks. Savage Goon, another Vanish, Sinister Goon, Green Fire, Dragon Form, Malice. Then we have Raven. This is really cool as well. 4 cost. Before Maleficent moves, you may move Raven to any location and perform one non-fate action at this location. Curses cannot be played to Raven's location. So it's an ally that you get to move every turn, and you get 1 extra free action every turn with her, or with it. So that's kind of cool, but you can't play any curses. Now you can move to a place that has curses, you just can't play anymore. So you can't move and go to a new location and then play a curse to that location. We have her staff. If Maleficent is at this location, the cost of playing effect or curse is reduced by 1. So that's super helpful. Oh, now there's space there. We should have one more curse, I believe. Maybe we only have the 3 curses. I thought there was 4 of them. So we're basically getting just a cycle. There's our last new card, Spinning Wheel. The heroes defeat at this location. Gain power equal to the hero's strength -1. Just kind of helps you out a little bit. And there's her Cackling Goon. Yeah, so hers is pretty much straight. Again, it's not like very complicated. Play the curses down, but each curse has a drawback that can get rid of it or prevent you from doing stuff. So you kind of gotta be careful. As the more curses you come out, it's gonna be easier maybe for your opponents just to get rid of them quicker, or for you to accidentally get rid of them or block what you can do. It's just gonna make the game a little bit more challenging. You're kind of playing against yourself at some point. Alright, let's look at her board. We have Forbidden Mountains, 1 power, fate, move a card, and draw. So, good thing I'm playing on here is keep an eye on what's on the top of what the heroes can cover, because that's what you're going to try and stop. Briar Rose Cottage, we have 2 power, movement, draw a card, and discard. In the forest, we have 3, play 2 cards, or discard a card. And in King Stephen's Castle, we have Fate, Draw one power, play a card, or vanquish. So also, thing you notice is both of her move actions can get covered up, so they can stop that. They can prevent you from moving your curses around. All right, then let's look at her fate deck quick. She'll have the same thing just now in that white and green. So we're gonna get some guards that are gonna, of course, try and fight against us. Heroes. When performing a vanquish action to defeat guards, at least 2 allies must be used. So again, this makes them a little bit even harder to take out. We have Fauna. When Fauna is played, you may discard Dreamless Sweep from her location. Um, yeah, I think it says normally you can't get rid of them, right? You can't play heroes there. Find a Dreamless Sweep. Oh yeah, it's they get -2 strength. So you play this one there, -2 strength puts her at 0, but then she immediately gets to discard it. So that just kind of makes these guys, again, they're gonna be frustrating. King Stefan. When King Stefan is played, you may move Maleficent to any location. It's not as much of a hindrance. Um, we have Once Upon a Dream. Discard a curse from a location in Maleficent's realm that has a hero. Again, just helps you get rid of those curses. We have, of course, Aurora, the Sweeping Beauty. When Aurora is played, reveal the top card of Maleficent's fake deck. If there's a hero, play it. Otherwise, return to the top of the deck. Oh, so that's kind of cool. She might get double heroes out of her. We have Merryweather. Curses cannot be played or moved to Merryweather's location. Shuts down that spot. The Sword of Truth. When the Sword of Truth is played, attach it to a hero with no other attached items. The cost to play a curse is increased by 2 power. That makes it harder. The Flora. When Flora is played, Maleficent must reveal her hand. Until Flora is defeated, players must play with their hand revealed. So I'm not generally a huge fan of playing with card revealed mechanics at all in games because it's like, oh cool, I know you have these, but unless I have something directly to stop them, that information generally doesn't seem useful to me. This game I can see a little bit more, especially again with this deck because again you're trying to play curses. So they have 2 curses out and you can see their hand. You can see when they have 1 or 2 more curses. So that does give you valuable information to know if you should be attacking or not. If they have no curses in their hand, yeah, they don't need to worry about it. But yeah, I'm not usually a huge fan of that mechanic. Another Sword of Truth, another guard. Prince Philip. Prince Philip is plagued. You may discard all allies from his location. So he just drops and kills everybody. Now they have to try and amass another 5 to take him out. Another Once Upon a Dream, Sword of Truth, some more guards, and finally King Herbert. King Herbert is played. You may move 1 ally from each adjacent location to his location. You can just send people over to take him out as soon as he's played. Um, it's kind of interesting. It's showing both of the leaders are sort of ineffective. They almost don't really necessarily hinder as much as they should. Um, so that was Maleficent's deck there. All right, and there's her mover again. Let's take a look at Big Bad Ursula here. Ursula's objective: have the trident and the crowning Ursula's lair. So yeah, a little bit different in how she does stuff. Um, so keeping heroes out of your way. Now this is actually kind of an interesting thing. There's several heroes in your fate deck will try and mess with your plans by moving and blocking actions. Normally heroes can be defeated with allies using the vanquish action. Ursula doesn't have any vanquish actions on her board. She can play binding contracts to locations to gain one-time vanquish actions. So that's again, it's a very unique and different thing that her deck does. Um, First, you have to find the trident and the crown in your deck. Deck using the discard ability is really helpful. Um, and then you have to try and move items around to the layers. That's kind of how her deck works. To the back of her card, here we have um, her cauldron down there at the bottom with like the seashell, which uses the steel Ariel's voice. The trident, flotsam and jetsam, her eels, her crown at the top with some tentacles around it. Yeah, so lots of very iconic stuff for her. All right, we're gonna look at our first card. We have Change Form. With the top three cards of your fate deck, discard one, put one at the bottom of your fate deck, and then put one back on the top of your fate deck. So again, this is very interesting because the other two characters we look at, Prince John and Maleficent, kind of have to deal with the fate cards as your opponent plays them. Um, but like they don't really interact with the deck. Ursula's really like, no, I'm just gonna go through and find what I need, move stuff around. She really kind of controls the other part of the playing field. We have Grow Giant. Giant Growth is a magic card. Perform one available action at an adjacent Ursula's adjacent location. So that's cool. You get extra effects. Our first binding contract. Um, the binding contract can only be played to the shore. So each one is kind of a different colored picture. Let's see if I have another one. Yeah, we have another one right away here. Can only be played to a specific location, but then you gain that vanquish action. When this vanquish action is performed, place the binding contract in a discard pile. So the idea is to try and place these contracts around to set you up to be able to do this extra additional action, which is really cool. Um, but it also limits on which one you can play where. Now, if they just make four binding contracts, that could be placed anywhere, that would be kind of make the game a little bit easier. But it's cool that she has separate ones. So we have this one, the blue one, which can only be played on Eric's ship. So again, it makes it a little bit harder for her to take guys out because she has to specifically place a card at a specific location. Um, but once the vanquish is there, you can vanquish anybody wherever. We have Opportunist. Choose an item or effect from your discard pile and put it into your hands. Hey, if she uses one of these binding contracts, you can get them back. We have Whirlpool. Draw 5 cards in your hand, then discard 4. Again, all about manipulating your deck. She's trying to find her specific cards when she needs them. So although they are a little bit harder to get and they get discarded, she can probably find them kind of easy. We have Trickery. Her first condition. During their turn, another player has 6 or more power. You may play Trickery. Reveal that. Reveal and play the top card of that player's fate deck. So this one doesn't actually gain her a bonus. It just 100% sabotages somebody else. Now, if you're playing against Prince John, um, you're probably be able to play this very quickly. Um, but now, again, that means you can then only attack Prince John. So, the other players may or may not hit as often. We have Divination. Um, reveal top cards from your deck until you reveal a binding contract. Put that in your hand, discard the rest. Now you discard the rest of your cards. You can use your other card to go back and find those cards and bring them back. Or if you get through your entire deck by discarding this and discarding that, just get to reshuffle it. Poor Unfortunate Souls. Defeat a hero, you may move one unattached item towards Ursula's lair. So definitely helpful. Another Grow Giant. Binding contract for Ursula's lair. Then we have the Trident, one of the 2 cards she needs. Um, but it can only be played to the shore, which is just which our areas. We have Ursula's lair, Eric's ship, the shore, and the palace. So she needs to get everything to Ursula's lair. She has to play it there, and then she has to move it like 3 times. We have Jetsam. Jetsam is not discarded when they're used to defeat a hero. So it kind of just hangs out, helps out. I didn't notice. He has 2 different colored eyes. That's very interesting. Change form. Arrogance. During the turn, if another player defeats a hero with 3 or more strength, you may play Arrogance. You may play ally and item from your hand for free. So definitely helpful. We have another binding contract for the shore, another whirlpool, another opportunist, and another divination. Then we have the crown. The crown can only be played to the palace, which is the last spot. Another trickery. We have Flotsam, whose eye colors are opposite. It's actually kind of neat. I love the artwork on these cards. Flotsam is not discarded when you defeat a hero. So now it's interesting because we have Maleficent had guards and she had some other characters to help her out. Prince John had a bunch of different allies, archers, and the Rhino Guards. Ursula just has the coup. She has bullets and injects them. That's all. She doesn't employ a bunch of allies. But because of that, they're always around. They don't. They kind of come in, they annoy the characters, and then they go away. Um, but they're always sitting around. So you have another Eric ship. There's the Cauldron. If Ursula is at this location, you may find an ally or find a contract in your deck or discard pile and put that card in your hand. So yeah, she's finding cards left and right. Whirlpool, Opportunist, Arrogance, Binding Contract for the Palace. So we only get one for that. Now we get two for the shore, um, two for Eric's ship, one for the palace. Of course, we don't get one for Ursula's lair. So if they put an ally on Ursula's lair, the only way to get rid of them is either the one card that just lets you straight up vanquish or defeat a foe, or using floats and ejects them. So you kind of gotta watch. Like, you put them somewhere else to deal with a threat later on, or do you have to move? But again, those are the only two allies you have. So you got to keep moving them around to also you're moving your crown, your trident. You're also going to have to move bullets and jets around to deal with different threats. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic. You're not getting to play like six allies across your board. Oh, I can deal with threats as soon as they come. You have to really work on maneuvering everything around. And then her last card was another giant growth, or grow giant. I always say that wrong. All right, let's look at her board quick. So we have Ursula's lair, which has one power, fate, move a card, and play a card. So again, that moving card is gonna be very important. Eric's ship, which has another fate, uh, gain one power, play a card, or discard. The shore, play two cards, discard, or three power. And the palace, which has their other move, play a card, move a opponent's card, the fate card, or draw two that move a opponent's card or the fate card. Not opponent's, the fate card can be very helpful as well, because that way you can move that one to deal with where you have a binding contract or where you have floats and eject them. Um, but yeah, so then you gotta move them there. But then you also have to move to that spot where that binding contract is to use that vanquish action. Um, yeah, so a lot of very interesting moving stuff around with her. Let's look at her fate deck. We're gonna have a Dingle Hopper. When a Dingle Hopper is played, attack it to a hero. Each time Ursula moves this location, she loses one power. So again, good way you gotta prevent her from playing cards. Return to form. Choose a hero with a strength of 4 or less from Ursula's discard pile. Play that hero to her location. Scuttle. When Scuttle is played, you may choose an item from Ursula's fate pile and attack it to Scuttle. Just gonna really play on getting cards from that discard pile. We have the Snarf Block. Snarf Block is played, attack it to a hero with strength of 4 or less. Ursula must defeat hero Snarf Block attack before defeating other heroes. King Triton. When King Triton is played, move the Trident and crown to his location. So again, this can basically reset her entire board. She could have one of them in her layer, the other one sitting at Eric's ship as the second one. Yep, like, oh, one turn away from pullover. Someone could drop King Triton on her at the palace, move all of them back to the palace, and basically reset her progress. Return to form. We have Ariel, of course. Until Ariel is defeated, Ursula cannot perform a move or move an item or ally action. So you do this, and you also drop like the power on her. This could really shut down some stuff. The Dingle Hopper, I mean. When Max is played, you may move a hero to any location. Return to form. Also playing the Snarf Black thing, like, oh, I don't want like, put it on Tritons. Then I have to amass 6 power to be able to defeat him. Or um put it on somebody else, and it prevents them from going after Ariel. So it's a good way to shut this down. We have Grimsby. When Grimsby is played, you may place a binding contract into the discard pile. Another Dingle Hopper, a Flounder. When Flounder is played, you may shuffle Ursula's fate deck into her discard into her fate deck. So it kind of resets that progress. Eric. When Eric is played, you may move an ally to any location. And finally, Sebastian. The only items cannot be moved to Sebastian's location. So again, you hide him in Ursula's domain, and he can't move anything there to defeat him. Again, not hard to do, but if you have that Snarf block out, um, that could definitely do stuff. Or even if you don't even have him on that, you have like if the items are in the palace and you have him in the shore, they can't move it to past the shore to get it closer, so you can shut down at the beginning. And it just again, it's gonna make Ursula frustrated because she has to deal with these minor annoyances, and she doesn't have an army. Um, and she has to kind of use trickery and the binding spells to get rid of stuff. So it's gonna make her very interesting to get rid of stuff. So that gang is her mover. The only one that's not necessarily really like a front or back side. Alright, then we have one more character to go. We have Captain Hook. Which I don't know why, but I want to say his name is Hector. But maybe that's just because I'm thinking of Barbossa, who's Hector Barbossa. And that might not have any name. He might not even have an actual name, like inside of the movie. Like I'm sure the live action stuff where they focused on him more, and like his backstory probably gave him one. um, I'm not sure. Anywho, um, his objective is to defeat Peter Pan at the Jolly Roger. So everyone else has different goals about playing these cards or moving these items or doing this. His is all about combat. He wants to defeat him, but he has to defeat him at the Jolly Roger. So he has to get Peter Pan there. Um, so he has first to find Peter Pan. So he's hiding your fake deck. You might appear your opponent's bait him. Otherwise, you can do stuff to try and draw him out. Then move Peter Pan to the Jolly Roger, and then finally defeat him. Yeah, so it seems fairly straightforward, but we will see if that is the case. Here is his deck here. His hat, a skull, crossbones, of course. Um, he's got an anchor, some daggers, his hook, and a boat. So fairly simple. I would have thought the only other thing that would have been semi-iconic, but maybe it would have been a little bit top, would have been either the timepiece, like the clock, or the alligator. Um, but that might have even been too much. All right, what do we have on here? First, we have the boarding party. When performing a vanquish action, boarding party may be used to defeat a hero at their location or at an adjacent location. Um, so guys, you play them. Um, you don't necessarily have to get the hero to the exact spot. So you can kind of spread these guys around and they can kind of gang up that way. Obsession has a condition. During their turn, the other player defeats a hero with a strength of 3 or more. You may play Obsession. Reveal a card from your fake deck until you reveal a hero. Either play or discard the hero. Discard the rest. Um, yeah, so that's kind of cool. So if like Peter Pan's out, you can use it to get rid of a different threat. Or if not, you can use it to search him. And you just have to reveal a player defeating somebody else. And you've seen um, each player, if they're faded, are gonna have to do it with this set. Some of the subsequent sets they have characters that don't worry about that as much. We have Worthy Opponent. Gain 2 power. Reveal cards from your fate deck until you reveal a hero. Play that hero. Discard the rest. The Cannon. This location gains Vanquish. So that's kind of cool. So kind of like Ursula, he can give a specific area um, or additional area Vanquish action. The Swashbuckler. Cheap guy, but does, give you 2 extra power. Or the opponent, we have a Cutlass. When Cutlass is played, attack with an ally, that ally gains 2 strength. Again, pirates aren't necessarily strong, but we're going to be able to basically throw a ton of them at you. We have Cunning. During their turn, if another player has an ally with 3 strength or more in their realm, you may you may play Cunning. Play an ally from your hand for free. Uh, Mr. Starkey. When Mr. Starkey is played, you may move a hero from his location to an adjacent location. So yeah, pull them there closer to help you out. Give them a scare. We have the top 2 cards of your fake deck. Either discard both or return them to the top in any order. another swashbuckler. The Neverland map. The Neverland map is played. Find Peter Pan and play it. When you defeat a hero, you may discard Neverland map. Um, so it's interesting there as it doesn't force him to have to go to a certain spot. So you could technically play him right to the Jolly Rogers. So that's kind of interesting. We have another cannon. Hook's case has all his different hooks in there, or his attachments. This location gains +1 power. So this is a really cool idea too. It's no one else's hack. You can play this down to giving another area an extra power. So instead of always having to trying to jump back and forth between the twos and threes to gain power, you can make another area 2 or make the 3 a 4. So that's pretty cool. Uh, aye, sir. Move an ally to an adjacent location. That ally gets 2 strength till the end of your turn. So a temporary boost. The ingenious device. So you place a bomb, and you get a move, a fate card round. So these are really cool. Hook is doing a lot of stuff where you can play cards down, which give him extra utilities to play, kind of like planning and scheming. The pirate Brutus, 4 strength, another boarding party, another obsession. Good old Smee. Smee gets +2 strength if he's acting Jolly Roger. So you can kind of just play him there and have him hang out. Helps defeat Pan easier. Give them a scare. Or the opponent. Pirate says, fairly straightforward. Play allies, boost allies, move allies, defeat Peter Pan. He doesn't have a lot of other stuff going on. That's pretty much what his deck is doing. Which again might be like, oh, that makes his deck a lot easier than everybody else's. It does it though, because I mean, you have to still be able to defeat everybody, so it's gonna be a little bit harder to do. All right, let's look at his board quick. We have the Jolly Roger, who has play a card, discard a card, vanquish, or um, play a card. Of course, vanquish is because he's on the ship. He can shoot his cannon. Now he can play cannons to shoot more cannons to shoot farther. Skull Rock, we have 1 power, play a card, uh, vanquish, not vanquish, fate, sorry, or discard a card. Mermaid Dragoon, move your characters around, play 2 cards or draw 3 power. And the Lost Boys Hideout, fate 2 power, move a fate card or draw a card. So he only has the 1 vanquish action. We can play more, we can give him the extra power. Definitely some cool stuff there. So there's the back of his fate cards. Let's take a look at who we have. We have Taunt. When Taunt is played, attach it to a hero. Captain Hook must defeat heroes with the Taunt action, or the Taunt attached before they defeat other heroes. This is definitely, again, slow people down. You have Peter Pan, you have to get him there. And again, if you can't get Peter Pan to the Jolly Roger, it doesn't matter if you defeat him or not. We have Lost Boys. When performing a vanquish action to defeat Lost Boys, at least 2 allies must be used, so they're going to make you spend a lot of your allies. Tick-tock. If Captain Hook moves to Tick-tock's location, you must immediately discard his hand. So this could shut down one of your spaces. Until you can get rid of him. Pixie Dust. When Pixie Dust is played, that hero gets 2 strength. Alright, then we have Peter Pan. Peter Pan can only be played to Lost Boys Hideout. Alright, so there we go. So it said in there, we played Neverland Map. I asked, well, what if you just play him there? Nope, he has to be played to the Lost Boys Hideout, which is the last space. He is... when Neverland Map is in Captain Hook's realm, Peter Pan cannot be moved. So, this is very interesting. So, I'm going to find that card quick. Neverland Map. Where are you? There's only one of them in there. So it says, when Neverland Map is played, find Peter Pan and play him. When you defeat a hero, you may discard Neverland Map. So yes, it lets you pull him out, but you have to go to the last spot, so you have to move him across the board. But you also can't move him until you defeat another hero to get rid of that. So it does help you summon him, but it's not like you just summon him and then just leave him there. Alright, so we have Splitting Headache. Discard an item from Captain Hook's realm, which is a lot of items that help him out. Another Pixie Dust. We have Tinkerbell. When Tinkerbell is played, discard one ally from her location. Splitting Headache, Taunt. We have Wendy. All other heroes in Captain Hook's realm gain 1 strength, making everyone harder to beat. We have John, gets +1 strength if he has any items attached to him. And Michael. Michael gets 1 strength for each location in Captain Hook's realm that has a hero, including Michael's location, so he can get fairly strong. And then Lost Boys, and finally Pixie Dust. So that's Prince John, not Prince John, that is Captain Hook. So it's a little bit maybe more straightforward than some of the other characters because you're just trying to defeat Peter Pan and gain power. You're not trying to play specific things or gain power, but it doesn't necessarily make him any easier. I did want to point out this for Vanquish. So defeat one hero at any location in your realm by using one or more allies that are in the same location. So when you play a Vanquish down, it's kind of showing on the picture here, you Vanquish at any other spot. So for John and Ursula, when you play their Vanquish, the Canyons, or the Binding Contract somewhere else, you can still Vanquish somewhere else. It just gives you more options on where to Vanquish from. Just to point out, it's not like stopping you. Like you don't have to Vanquish on the same spot as the heroes, or you have to try and get them to those spots. Yeah, so that's all of our different stuff for this game. Here's our action card, which again just kind of shows off all that. So that is the 100th anniversary set for Disney's Disney 100, not the Villainous Disney 100th introduction vehicle, the re-release of the base set. So hope you guys enjoyed this. You kind of got to see what it is. If you've never looked up Villainous before, it is definitely a fun game. Love the fact, again, that the expansions are all standalone. You can pick up any expansion, play it by itself, or you can mix and match any of the heroes. So, like, what they usually do with all them sets is they usually have, like, one like, well-known hero, which is usually the cover art, like Scar, or, so if we look at the boxes here, uh, Evil Queen, Scar, Cruella, Gaston, or Syndrome. Usually, like one really well-known character villain, one medium-known one, like okay, yeah, this guy's mostly known, and then kind of like one obscure one, like they put in like Ragagang or the Horned King, um, in some of the sets, which is really cool because I let you get stuff because you might buy it for Scar, but then you're getting one of these other characters you haven't really heard of as much. Especially if you're not a huge Disney fan. But that's really cool. You can mix and match them all. And everyone has a different play style, so you might find one that you like. But since they all generally play the overall concept, they play the same. You don't have to relearn the game every time. You just have to learn how each villain plays. So that's going to be it for this video. Again, I'm going to have a link in the description where I'm going to do a comparison with this with the original base set because there are a couple of differences, couple of minor ones. Like somehow the rules changed a little bit. How some of the I've noticed somehow the way the characters their boards and their conditions have changed a little bit as well. And that's where you get to some of more of the bigger differences because of their rules changing, the decks are also going to change. Uh, so you can check out that video if you want to see the comparison between the two. So if you're deciding which you should buy, that'll be a little bit more in depth to look. Just as a quick end note for that, which one do I think you should buy? If you are going, like, just as a really quick, brief overview, if you plan owning, you want all the characters as of right now, you're going to want to find the original. I don't know if it's still going to be in print now that this is out, so it might be harder to find. It's got like a green box on it. It's called, I forgot what it was called. But yeah, because you get the other two characters, you also get Queen of Hearts and Jafar. Now, unless they're planning on re-releasing them in a separate box, so that way you could get both of them, so you could buy this, then buy those two. The only thing that's gonna suck is if they do that, is because unless they're releasing as two individual characters or a two pack, which I don't think they'll release them as a two pack because then it's not a standalone set anymore. If they release them with a third brand new character, then you almost have to buy that again. So, well, we'll compare a little bit more in that video. I would say if you're just gonna buy this as a one-off game, you don't plan necessarily buying any of the expansions. You just want a fun, quick game to play. This one's probably fine. It eliminates a couple of the little rules or a couple of things that'll make it a little bit easier to play. Plus, you can open it up and just play right away. So it's a great game night. You can pick this up at the store, go home. You guys can sit down and play it. Um, but if you want to collect all the characters and all the decks, I'd probably recommend just trying to find the base set again, unless they do something different with re-releasing those other characters. Otherwise, you're gonna end up having to buy both at some point to get the last two. And Jafar and Queen of Hearts are two very big Disney characters. All right, that's all we have for this video. See you guys later. Bye.